if we're going to say $80 million is what he's going to make, what he was stood to make this year, both on and off the court. You know, Kevin is 30 right now. LeBron is you know, on a pace to play until he's in his, you know, maybe early 40s. I don't think it's crazy, and this is what Durant's lawyers would argue, that Durant's on that same trajectory, or at least was, emphasis on was, to play into his 40s and on those type of max contracts until he retired. So Danny, 80 million times another 10 years of playing. Can you give me the math on that? 800 million, but it doesn't stop there. I'm not just getting to $1 billion. I think we shoot all the way through it, because a guy like Shaquille O'Neal, 8 years post-retirement, is making $30 million a year. We've seen him on The General, on Icy Hot. That's what Durant's lawyers would argue. And they'd argue that this is one of the most recognizable faces in the world. According to Forbes, this is a top 10 earner off the court in all of sports. LeBron James is a guy, but you know, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Roger Federer. This isn't me coming up with this. These are what economic damages experts would say. He's a top 10 earner off the court. So of course they'd argue he can make that same Shaq money. And what we do as attorneys, it's a basic work-life expectancy tables. We figure out when the injury happened and what that individual would have made over the course of his entire life. And if someone like Magic Johnson is making millions into his 50s, and Kevin Durant is a really savvy guy off the court, if we see him come back to the court and he's averaging 8 points a game, or 5 points, or he's like Dirk, you know, toward the end of his career where he can't really stay on the court, that's not a guy that's going to have the same off-the-court economic opportunities. And I will say this, Danny, you know, billion's a big number. I will say, in our line of personal injury litigation, are you familiar with this Tracy Morgan incident that happened a couple years ago, the car accident? So that was a big case, probably the biggest case at the time. That was a case that settled for $90 million, okay? The Achilles, I'm not making this up, the Achilles objectively shortened people's careers. Durant's making, we just went over the numbers, close to $80 million a year for 1 year. But if Isaiah Thomas never comes back, and I'll give you a great, very timely example. Are you familiar with Wes Matthews, the basketball player? Wes Matthews